I'll just come outside.
Just start the next presentation. This session is about global customer focused documentation. It will be presented by Janvi Barman from Dell. Janvi has about 10 years of experience in Dell, and she's a localization project manager in Dell.
Thank you. Hopefully this presentation will be worth your while. So let's just get right into it. This year's STC conference topic was customer focused documentation. How many of you remember that? No? Okay, so when I was asked to present, I thought I do translation and STC conference is about customer focused documentation. So I'm trying to tie it together with global customer focused documentation. So I'm basically going to talk about translation, but there are two things I would like you to benefit from this presentation. So hopefully by the end of the presentation, you'll have a deeper understanding into the process of translation and localization. And two, what you as information developers can do to make it better. Okay, so a little bit of exercise for you all. How will you read this date? In India we read that as 7th April 2011. We all know that in US that's read as July 4th 2011. In Spain it's read just like us, it's 7th April 2011. And in Japan they write the year first. So they will be reading this date as 2007 April 11. So when you're thinking about maybe a scenario where a user has to enter a date, and we being information developers, we make sure that we tell the customer everything. So the GUI probably has the date format just beside the box, but people respond more culturally than what they read and see. So there are chances of entering wrong information and us misrepresenting data. How would you translate state? Anybody? So into the regional language that you speak, how would you translate it? Okay. Any other options? Physical disk state, like you've inserted a disk into the server and offline and online. So imagine someplace in documentation you wrote state and it's translated into Spanish as geographical location, and Spanish users in United States are probably wondering what these new states offline and online are. Okay, so how about this? How would you translate from and to? From a folder to a folder? From a date to a date? From a sender to a receiver? All these translate differently into target languages. So you have to be specific and tell the people that are translating, or make sure that accurate information is displayed not only in your source language, which is English, but also the target languages. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to talk about challenges for the translators, and also challenges for information developers when they are trying to put out information in multiple global languages, and how to address those issues. So three things I'm going to talk about: challenges, addressing them, and what we gain out of it. Okay. Context. So this morning I took a BMTC bus. BMTC is Bangalore Metro Transport Corporation. And there was a phrase inside the bus. It said, Tingala Ulitaya Madi. For those who don't speak Kannada, it roughly translates as save each month. Or in Hindi, something like Masik Bachat Kijiye. What did that mean, probably? Any guesses? Yeah, you're spot on. Any other guesses? Okay. Nobody think? Yes, it's a monthly plan. Any others? No, right? Because we know the context. Nobody thinks that aliens are trying to communicate with us. No. Okay. Okay. So imagine the scenario in one of the tooltips that you're trying to document. So you have something on the screen and you're giving the user a tooltip saying, by clicking this you'll probably be doing this. That's what pops up. Now imagine if you're translating into another language and that takes up extra spaces. And so the message gets cut. Only half of it is displayed. What would the user understand? And what do we as information developers or a product or a service company gain or lose by giving only half of the information that we're intending? So these are the challenges and pain points that the translators that are trying to translate or display information, they are facing. How about us? Translation costs a lot. I mean, with agile development, you want to translate right then and display information along with English, probably, if that's one of your requirements. So you need to think about how many times you're translating and what you're translating and how much you're spending for. Insufficient time to translate. If you're not using agile model, if it's a traditional waterfall model, translation is usually an afterthought, and you develop your English and you're finally done with it, you give it to the translator and expect a really quick turnaround. This is again the challenge for the translators. And if you want to address that challenge, and if you say, I'm making frequent changes, so I will translate it periodically, you develop a feature, give it for translation, get it back, and by the time you're done with all the sprints, the content has changed probably. So it made no sense for you to translate it in the first place. And let me proceed to talk about addressing these challenges. The first part that we can do is put the maximum amount of time, effort and focus into the source that we are providing for translation. So when I say design for translation, the GUI elements, the tooltips, the layout, how the information is going to be displayed, the buttons that the users are going to click, you need to think about if it will mirror the same space and layout and pop-ups, etc. in the languages. Character encoding for source files. So you need to think about a character that supports not just 26 English alphabets and 9 numbers and few special characters. You need to think about code that accommodates all special characters for all the languages that you're planning to translate the document or the UI into. Providing context. So when I say context in terms of GUI, you need to provide as much information about the layout to the translator. You can do this by probably giving the translator access to a beta of a software, or if there's a prototype, so they can look at what they are translating for. Document for translation. You need to think about the style guide. The style guides are not the same any longer. We have extra rules, extra checks in place, so that what we are writing means what we intend to say even in the target languages. One example is using either active voice or passive voice throughout and not combining them, so it will not translate irregularly into the target language. Again, providing context. If you think that there's a particular feature or a concept that you're trying to explain to the customer which won't be quite obvious just by looking at the text, you can use the comments section and give additional information to the translator to tell them what you mean. Graphics and screenshots, again basic sanity. If you put text on a graphic, it will not translate. It will remain in the source language, and the same cases with the screenshots. Finally, packaging it. If you were releasing it through an online method, then you would have already thought about packaging it, like what is the target format and what is the character encoding strategy. Many times we see that we try to access pages in other languages and junk characters appear. You don't want this to happen, so you want to package it correctly. And if there are actual shipping elements, avoid putting text on the boxes or the CD cases, especially when you're shipping it to a country which speaks multiple languages. Any questions so far? Process tweaks, it depends on whether you are working in an agile model or a waterfall method. You need to plan for frequent changes. So in an agile model, typically if you want to translate at the end of each sprint, the product might not be stable. However, you can club sprints and make sure when the feature is ready and complete, you can then translate it. You can plan, you can make other changes as your system allows to make sure that the frequent changes do not cause so much churn. In an agile methodology, again, the quality check, as in you've developed each feature and documented it, and when you package it as a complete document, you want to look at the overall consistency, and the editor might make final changes which may result in changes all over the document, and the translator has to look at it again. You can avoid doing this by planning initially, and if there are any style guide rules or additional rules that you want to implement, you can implement throughout the document initially to avoid the churn at the end of the cycle. Understanding translation. How many of you work with translated documents? Send documents or receive them for translation? Not many. Okay, great. So we could benefit by understanding what happens when we send the document for translation, what happens before we receive it. There's something called translation memory. So when you send a document for translation, all the phrases that are translated and all the sentences, and actually there is a concept called segments. They are stored in a database called translation memory with the vendor. What happens with the translation memory is that each time you send a document for translation, it will pick up the already translated content and populate it, so you don't have to redo it over and over again. Next, your company might have copyrighted a few words or phrases, or there are particular product names that you want to remain in English, or there are some words which can be translated, yes, but they have to retain the same structure throughout the document or throughout the product or throughout the product suite. So you can establish specific rules for them to be handled separately. Once you're done with all of this, the final step is either human translation or machine translation. So what happens in human translation is the delta that remains after the translation memory matches and the terminology or the glossary. The final delta step is again run through the machine translation memory, and the software suggests matches. All the translator does is to either accept the match or edit it and again re-enter it into the translation memory. In human translation, the delta is completely translated by a linguist or a translator. Now why you needed to understand translation to be able to focus on global customers? Each time you're making changes to a document, you have to think about the already established rules. You have to think about what's in your glossary, what's in your terminology management, what style guide changes have I already incorporated throughout the documentation or the UI or the product suite. Is there any way that I can reuse it? Or if I'm introducing something new, will it be applicable to the future work that I will do? And incorporate that rule additionally so it can be reused further. Okay, so ideal workflow. Internationalization, that's a new term. What does that mean? When you're thinking about a GUI element and how it appears not just in English but all the target languages, then that's internationalization. If you are making accommodations in your code so that all the languages and the characters will be handled correctly, that is internationalization. If your documentation has a left pane and a right pane, you want the customer to click on the left pane and expand on a right pane if you're making sure that the left pane has enough space, not just for English, but for translated content also, then that's internationalization. So by doing this, you'll be saving a lot of trouble for yourself later. The document and the product is now ready for translation, and you begin the process. It gets run through the translation memory, through the glossary. It picks up all the matches, the delta gets translated, and you get back the files. You integrate the files and wait. Just before you ship out the entire product, there is something called overall localization that you should do. What is this? Checking to see if the translations are done correctly, opening the interfaces and making sure no junk characters are appearing, and also taking into account some cultural conventions. Like if it is a printed document, you don't ship Arabic and Hebrew together for obvious reasons, and a few rules like that to make sure that you create a good customer experience. What are the benefits? Cost. You would have spent probably $1,000 to translate a document. Setting up a translation memory is expensive. It probably cost you an additional $15,000. But once you've set up the translation memory, the cost of translating the delta in the next document that you sent out probably just cost you $150. So you need to think about the roadmap for your organization and what you plan to do in the documentation life cycle, and plan ahead and invest on this so you can get the return on investment. Quality. So once you've taken care of all the style guide changes, all the UI design, you have accurate documentation, and most importantly, what the source and the target language says is the same. There is no gap. The integrity is maintained. Time. So once you've set up a translation memory, you can choose whether you want to send the documentation frequently or infrequently. So initially when I talked about the challenges, one was striking a balance between insufficient time to translate and frequent changes. So once you've set up a translation memory with a vendor, you can choose when you want to translate the delta. And finally, intangible customer experience, and thereby growing your revenue. That's all I had. Question? Yes.
I actually have a couple of questions. This translation memory procedure that you just explained, is this a generic procedure or is it something specific to Dell?
Translation memory is pretty generic. Yeah, each time, most of the organizations, unless it is something out of the ordinary that you're translating, they set up a translation memory with a vendor. They might not send out the legacy content for translation memory initially, but they invest in the software and that database. So each time you translate either UI or either documentation or something, it will pick up matches and store it for future use.
One more question. How has the structure of the translation?
If anything, it is better because the terminology management matches and the glossary matches, even translation memory matches are increased, as in there are more instances of exact matches and very little delta to translate additionally. Thanks. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Janvi. I'll call upon Sauparni to hand over the momentum on behalf of STC.